Well, we have a Procurement Act, and the Act 663 mandates all institutions to make sure we undertake procurement in a certain structured way. But there have been concerns that, well, as a public, as a country, as a public sector, we've not been doing the right things. We have a personality with us in the studio, and Professor Douglas Boating has had extensive sojourn in international multi-sectoral experiences and includes positions as a CEO, executive advisor and consultant, adjunct academic, executive coach and mentor, and has had also a lot more experience in supply chain management, and he's with us. We're here to talk about a lot more. Professor Douglas Boating is a partner with Parnavest International and Partners, and we're privileged to have him this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
This morning, basically, we just want to talk about the linkage between the current procurement activities we undertake and the long-term development and industrialization that we envisage for our country. But foremostly, I would want to ask you, based on your observation, what do you think we've not been doing right, just on the face of it, with the current procurement law we have?
Okay. Thank you, and good morning to your viewers again. You see, the promulgation of the Act 663 was a brilliant idea by, the government of Ghana. But unfortunately, when you promulgate an act, you need to have a strategy to implement that. It's like having a framework. Now, how you implement the framework is through a strategy. And then from the strategy, you come up with a plan to do that. Unfortunately, the act was promulgated. It was a good act, but there was no strategy, which include, in my view, should have had also a national procurement strategy to help to implement the act. This is where, unfortunately, we've had quite a few problems with the act. It's a good act, but there's no strategy to implement it.
Foremostly, when you get a sense of the media reports and you do analysis of them, you keep hearing about sole sourcing, which consistently have become very characteristic about the way we tend to implement the act. Is that a concern?
Sole sourcing is good. It helps to push national agenda. But unfortunately, sometimes it's done in the wrong way, and there's nothing wrong with sole sourcing. If you want to promote local empowerment, you use sole sourcing. There's criticism of it. But it's the way and manner in which it's done that is what is causing a lot of concern within society a lot. By the way, this sole sourcing issue is not unique to Ghana. When you go to South Africa, they call it black economic empowerment, to give preference to locals. But it's the way and manner in which it is done, which is rather unfortunate.
Yes. Yeah, you've worked in countries like Tanzania, etc. You've
Yes.
also traveled widely.
Yes.
With the way we tend to implement the act, generally, with the way our public sector tends to operate with the act, is it peculiar to the countries you visited on the continent?
There's a common underlying trend within all the countries, and for me, like I mentioned earlier, it's not unique. It's because of the fact that the continent is still trying to understand what procurement is all about. There's a difference between procurement and buying, and most African countries tend to buy. Hence, some of the challenges we face with the industrialization of specific countries on the continent. We don't procure, we actually buy, and there's a difference.
Now let's come to the substantive of the issues we've been talking about. We talk about industrialization and the current state of procurement. Is there any linkage at all?
Without doubt, if procurement is not taken seriously by the government of Ghana, and Africa for that matter, there will be no industrialization, period. Because the way we procure has an impact on local industries. If you end up importing toothpick, you end up importing even the underwear, simple things, shoes, ties, clothing, orange juice, pineapple juice, everything that we consume as consumers is imported, then you cannot industrialize. You have to have a policy, a national procurement policy, to support the act that you've promulgated. And unless we are able to find a way of linking procurement to national development, 100 years after independence, 2057, we'll still be talking about the same issues. Governments in Africa are grappling with the concept you know, because they are now part of a global community and they don't see the linkage. You know, South Africa has seen the light, Tanzania, Kenya, they've seen it, and they are coming up with strategies to support local industries. Sometimes they are not competitive, but you have to support. China wasn't competitive from day one. They were supported by government. So African governments need to support local industries, and then they will gain the economies of scale. I also encourage Africans, you know, within these artificial borders that I believe we are in, not to just think about their local market. They need to start linking up with other of their colleagues in the eastern, western, and southern parts of Africa. So, for example, an entrepreneur or procurement person in Ghana, if you think your market is only Ghana, you are looking at 26 million people at best, 30 million people, of which 50% are poor, which is 15 million. If you think African, you are looking at 1 billion people, of which, let's say, 25%, that is 250 million as your market. I don't see any reason why we can't slowly build local industry to export into the rest of the continent. Now it's becoming a one-way traffic, and we need to decide as a country whether we want to just basically focus on being a trading nation like Dubai or become an industrialized nation where we add value to our products. And procurement plays a critical role in that.
So it means that the intent will be for local industries to also thrive and come up and become a lot more competitive, as you've already said. But at what point do we also make sure that we need to prop up the local industries first for them to be that competitive before we even talk about the realm of being competitive within the procurement sector?
Okay. Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah. To make the local industries competitive, we need to support it. We need to give them the support that is needed from government. I don't see the reason why government should not put money towards the serious local industrialists. Recently, South Africa announced that they were going to create, using government money, 100 black industrialists. You know, they are going to support them, you know, for selected sectors. I don't see the reason why the government cannot do that in Ghana to support selected industries, those that have proven themselves with some capital, with even sole sourcing, you know, in terms of their products. But we have to have a plan, a long-term plan, not just a short-term quick fix. This thing takes a while, and unless we have what I call a national procurement strategy, you know, you have this confusion in terms of where do we want to go. I see that there's been a blueprint, you know, 40-year development plan. What is underpinning that plan? Because there's going to be a lot of spend, and when the spend comes through, you are looking at procurement, and who's going to benefit? Outsiders or Ghanaians, you know. So
it's an important point you raise, especially once you have a lot more experience in supply chain management.
Yes.
And because the industries currently have not been propped up in a way where they can easily become competitive in the short term, it means that the strategy will help face that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, inherent in the strategy will be, if let's say it's we're talking about building big infrastructure as far as the construction sector is concerned, then they can play instrumental roles in the various levels. Is that it?
Yes.
Before then they become big players?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You know, and build the critical skills over a period. You know, there's a lot of construction work that needs to be done in Ghana. Should we be Ghanaians? I believe initially, no, but there could be partnerships, you know, with foreign players, you know, to come in and assist. Then you phase them out, and then Ghanaians take over. That is supply development, you know. And then once they've got a skill, obviously, then there will be continuity in terms of infrastructure development. But at this point in time, there's no strategy in terms of skills transfer, supply development, you know, which will help these companies to be competitive locally, and then they also export their skills to other parts of the continent. Because for me, as a Pan-Africanist, I believe that it's quite easy for Ghanaians with their core competencies to also go out there and explore some of these opportunities. It shouldn't be just one-way traffic. South Africa has a lot of skills. That's why they are coming up. Why can't Ghanaians also go south, you know, with some of their skill sets? We have human capital, but we don't have the strategy to obviously exploit the skill set that we have in other parts of the continent.
No, brilliant. I read a book about a year ago, The Price of Civilization by Professor Jeffrey Sachs, and
Yes.
he wrote that very book just after the crisis that the U.S. went through within the credit crunch period.
Yes.
And he particularly mentioned that the U.S. government deliberately supported SMEs, so to speak, because they were large employers, etc.
Yes.
At what point do we have to say we need to put this at the front burner when we know we live in a competitive world where no matter how we like it, we go to source the monies from our multinationals or our donors, and they have stringent conditions attached to how we use the money and who tend to execute the project, etc.
Okay. I just want to give you an interesting observation in terms of we sourcing money. We don't source money on the whole. We go and beg.
Okay.
When you go and beg, then they push you. I've always maintained in a lot of my presentations that our leaders sometimes don't do themselves justice. They need us as well as we do. When we go and borrow money, it's not free. But the way and manner in which we approach the funders is like we are begging them, and they squeeze us. You know, they have all these risks and things attached. Recently, I made a comment that in terms of the way we interact with our big partners, you know, we are always going to them when they should be coming to us. They have a product, you know. Do Americans get up and come to let's say Ghana because they need us there? They want us to come there. We need to be proud of what we have. We are a big market. Africa, Ghana is small, but as a continent, we are big. We are the same size as India, you know, and obviously lower than China. But we need to start collectively being proud of what we have so that when we engage, we are not begging. There's a difference between begging and negotiating. Africans, we go and beg because we have short-term
So you're saying what
thinking.
we have been doing all these decades, we've been begging.
Generally, we have been begging.
And so the projects have been coming in. They've been giving us the money.
With strings attached.
Yes.
With strings
So,
attached.
for example, if we take the money from Brazil, they make sure that the lead companies,
Yes.
and even up to the supply chain levels,
Yes.
even to the minutest of labor,
Yes.
everything goes to the parent country.
Yes. You know, when you are negotiating from a position of strength. I know what I have. You want some of it. We are a market. But we go and we basically start begging rather than negotiating. Please come and help me. You need my money. You need my services. You need my market. Why can't we engage? Recently, I don't want to mention the government's name, there was an energy issue, and a lot of you guys will know. And when I listened to the president's speech in terms of the requirements, says, come and help us. For me, that is begging. You should be able to come and say, I need you as a partner to come in and construct some of these infrastructure requirements that we need. And I believe that if you have a procurement or supply chain professional engage in these type of activities, you'll be able to negotiate rather than begging.
So is that when the strategy becomes important?
Important. When you have
because then that is the core principle and the core agenda.
Yes. Since post-independence Africa, our leaders, they've tried very hard. Don't get me wrong. They've pushed the continent forward. Ghana has moved forward. But I think we can do even much better if we engage the procurement professionals in some of these negotiations. Politicians, meanwhile, they will set the policy framework, but there's a national strategy that is needed, and that can't be set by politicians. It has to be set by experts like procurement and supply chain professionals that will negotiate and not go and beg and bargain. There are three different things which I've been traveling the continent and telling executives. When you bargain, you are looking at short term. When you negotiate, you are looking at long-term partnerships.
There's an interesting point you make. When we know that that's the current state in which we are, the ideology hasn't changed. It needs to change, and you are preferring that adequately. But at what point do we have to say this is the current state in which we are? And so, well, as we are working with the status quo, that's how we need to do it.
Yes.
As far as the strategy for the implementation of the procurement laws are concerned.
Yes. Okay. when you set off on a journey, you have an end goal in mind. We need to go back to basics and decide where do we want to be. Do we want to industrialize or do we want to become a trading nation? For me, I've always maintained that in terms of the gateway, it was a brilliant idea, but I think it's been misunderstood. Today, I make a flippant joke that where is the gate and where is the way? Because 1 minute you want to industrialize, 1 minute you want to become a trading nation. Now, when you want to become a trading nation, obviously, your country is flooded with a lot of imports. Whether it's good or bad remains to be seen.
Inflation goes up with its attendant variables.
Yes,
okay.
And you spend a lot more money importing your foreign currencies, your reserves, drops. We need to decide. And I don't think we can leave everything to the market. Even in the US, there's intervention. When the car industry was going down, there was intervention. So we need to find a way of intervening if you want to industrialize by supporting local industries. For me, local means Africa, because there's no ocean separating us. And it's a big market. Ghanaian companies can do it. I don't see the reason why Ghanaian companies cannot also travel south with their products. When I travel east and west, I hardly see West African products. For me, which is rather unfortunate, because the procurement people there are also buying goods, but it's all coming from Asia. We have to be able to find a way of linking up. And when we link up, we can make a change and create manager jobs for, the students. For me, it's rather unfortunate when you spend so much money through education, right to university level, when you finish, you can't get a job. It's rather unfortunate.
So let's tap into your knowledge of experiences.
Yes.
Outside the continent, which countries have done it better, having this very mindset, and so making sure that as far as the implementation of their strategy for their procurement, laws or regulations, they put their industries at the front, at the forefront?
Most of the developed world, US, Germany, UK, Japan, they directly and indirectly support local, buy local. They don't come out and say possibly strictly buy it, but they make sure.
But it's inherent in the way they implement.
It's implied in there, But when it comes to Africa, we are scared of taking bold decisions to support local. I don't see the reason why all orange juice procured by government for all government departments should not be sourced locally. I don't see the reason why. From local. Why should we be sourcing?
It even depends on the local you're talking about, because even the local firms are owned by foreigners.
Yeah. Well, we need to define what is local. I don't see the reason why all the sandals, if it's sponsored for school children, give it to local. As a child, I saw it, but unfortunately, it's all gone because we want to be part of globalization. Fine. But at the end of the day, even the developed ones, they support local. Why should, I'll give you an example. The underwear. Can't we produce our own underwear? Can't we produce our own socks?
You mean drawers?
The underwear, yes.
Drawers.
Those that wear underwear.
Drawers?
Drawers, yes.
Oh, we buy from China.
China. Now, toothpick.
China.
The hair for the good ladies, to beautify Brazil.
Peru.
Why
Cambodia.
can't we? Yes. Why
Vietnam.
can't we do it? Yes.
Thailand.
Yes. And now even condoms are imported. The rubber is here. And I'm saying, but these simple things we can do ourselves. When you do it, you create jobs. And who are making those decisions? Buyers and not procurers. And because we don't have a national strategy for procurement, all our hospitals, where are the condoms coming from? Why can't we produce the condoms locally?
So a national policy like the way the Indians do it,
yes.
They put so much taxes on imported cars that you are forced to buy the Mahindras,
yes,
and the ones that they have.
Yes.
Is that the same?
You could do that.
Is that the same?
It's simple. It's a similar mindset. Make the imports more expensive to protect local industry. Because in the end, what will happen is once you protect local industry, they become competitive, and then you open up.
They don't even allow you to import labor.
Yes.
They make sure you use, because but they are coming from a certain position of strength, and in trade-offs, it's logical. Once you're coming from a certain position of strength, you can do that.
They had a plan, a strategy. They were not strong from day one.
Well, they're a bigger country too.
Yeah. Well, they say they are bigger because they see themselves as a collective. India, in terms of population, is virtually the same as Africa. Over 1 billion people. But they see themselves as a collective. And you see, they don't have made in Uttar Pradesh. They don't have made in Mumbai. They have made in India. I've been traveling the continent and I'm advocating we should have made in Africa, produced in Ghana, so that we can start breaking down the artificial barriers that is hampering trade. You know, still now intra-African trade is less than 25% since 1957. Why? We don't trade among each other because you have these barriers.
How do we break these barriers? Because is it not the leadership or the political or the leadership elite, so to speak, who are supposed to take some of these steps? Well,
we can't keep on looking to the leaders. The business people can take the initiative and start forging closer relationships with each other. Reliance on politicians, you know, to try and break these, they have a different mindset. Business people have a different mindset, and we can use the business community to try and break down these barriers. And all comes down again to engaging the procurement professional in some of these initiatives. Unfortunately, right now in the continent, and Ghana for that matter, as we're discussing, you have any Tom, Dick and Harry getting up and saying, I am a procurement person. They don't understand what procurement is all about. Today, you can't get up and become a medical doctor. You can't become a chartered accountant. You cannot become a lawyer.
You can't become a procurement professional.
Yes,
yeah, that's the truth.
Yes, but those other professions are protected by Act of Parliament. Procurement is not. And I'm saying, unless we wake up and also pass an Act of Parliament for procurement professionals, we're going to have this imbalance in terms of what we use them for. It's a big challenge, and I've been traveling the continent and obviously trying to highlight these issues. And hopefully with time it will change, because what has been happening in the last 2 months in Ghana cannot continue.
With you being a lead academic and trying to do all this advocacy in our country and across the sub-region, what are you doing to change the mindset of the policy makers, so to speak, or those who tend to influence policy, formulate policy?
I engage them in terms of seminars to try and highlight the difference and the strategic importance of industrialization and procurement, the link. I've also committed myself to write books, 7, 3 already out. I donated some to the Public Procurement Authority 2 weeks ago. I'm also encouraging a lot of best practices in terms of sponsoring a lot of activities, just to try and highlight, you know, the strategic importance. Every year I do 4 international public lectures, you know, on a theme on procurement and Africa's urgent need to find a way of bringing it to the forefront. You know, if you look at a lot of these state entities, you will not see you will hardly see a procurement professional on the boards. Yet we are spending billions every year. Who is doing the negotiation? Are they going to bargain and beg? In a lot of cases, yes. I'm not saying it's all wrong. All I'm saying is we can do better. There are sharpshooters in government, but we need more to help, both in the public and the private sector. And the only way you do that is through an Act of Parliament, so that the profession can be taken seriously and hopefully help to industrialize and create a managed jobs and also build infrastructure.
At the UNISA Graduate School of Business Leadership, you teach there as well?
I teach there. I'm linked to quite a few universities. I'm also linked to the KNUST here. I helped to set up the West African Institute of Supply Chain Leadership, which was a platform.
What sort of leadership do we need within the formal business sector? Because we know we can trust the politicians, but they can listen to influential business people.
Yes. The leaders we need are people that are able to think beyond the box. For
outside
me,
the box.
Well, I'm not a fan of outside the box.
You think it's a cliched phrase?
Yes, I believe that we should rather throw away the box, because you don't know what was in the box before. So if you use that as a benchmark, it also, you know, helps to cocoon you. You don't really think beyond. I am looking for leaders that are broad-minded, that are entrepreneurial, and we have them in Ghana. They are very successful business people, but I really want them to liberate themselves from their own mental slavery and think beyond Ghana, because the likes of Walmart was created by an individual. The likes of KFC was created by an individual. I don't see why we can't have local creating history. As a child, I saw a lot of big names. They've all disappeared. You know, can we continue like this? No. We need to try and leave a legacy for the next generation, and I believe with a mindset and bold decision making, it can be done. They are here. We just need to try and encourage them, you know, to look beyond their own national boundaries.
A very, very interesting scenario. Now, here, we need to make sure we impact knowledge to the young.
Yes.
And in graduate school in Ghana, many of the schools, you tend to transfer knowledge. What do you think that foremostly the young ones need to learn as they are perhaps in middle level or perhaps down there within the management setup?
They need to learn, one, procurement, what it's all about, what you buy and its implication on you as the future generation. They also need to learn financial management. Financial management is one of the issues obviously bedeviling our society. Financial management and procurement should be on the national agenda from an early age, so that when you are buying things, you look at the back and see, where is it coming from? Is it going to help me to get a job when I finish my university? You know, where is it positioned? We need to start inculcating our youth in terms of what procurement is all about.
Well, very interesting. You have an awards night coming up?
There's an awards night coming up, a dinner awards at the Golden Tulip on tomorrow, actually, and basically to honor the people that have made a difference to procurement and also to society as a whole, because procurement and industrialization, as I keep saying, is linked, and we are trying to encourage. I, as a panavest and as an individual, I'm even supporting it as much as I can, because I do it in other countries, and I believe that the more we expose the positives, you know, in society, the better, because positive thinking also breeds a lot of optimism among the youth. So by honoring these individuals, you know, we start having role models, and once you have role models, people aspire, you know, to become or be even better than them.
Okay, we have to let you go though, but we're so much grateful. You've been in a position to give us the enlightenment and the education, and why we need to make sure as a country we improve on the way we implement our procurement law, because we still don't have the strategy in place, do we?
There's no strategy as far as I'm aware. We have a policy framework. Politicians and the government has come up with something. Brilliant concept, but we need to have underlying policy and national procurement strategy. That is what we are going to spend our money on. This is how we're going to spend it and why we are doing that. And then there's a plan, the implementation over 5, 10, 15-year period. Let's not think tomorrow. Let's think 5, 10, 15 years. That's the only way you fetch change and avoid what I call the short-term gain, long-term pain syndrome.
Thank you very much. And we've had in the studio Professor Douglas Boateng. He's supply chain as well as procurement professional, as well as an academic. And he's had extensive knowledge, working experience, and teaching practice in many graduate schools across the continent and elsewhere, and also had worked professionally in the sub-region across the whole of the continent and also outside the continent as well. Thanks for passing through, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more for you, and then also we'll be having our lengthy discussions on AM Talk as well. So, as always, make sure you get interactive. We have the page on Facebook, Join Us on TV. It has a link on our Twitter handle at Join Us on TV, and also a number we have for our WhatsApp platform, 0568 800,000. You give us a lot more of those comments, and then we'll be very much happy to bring them to you. I have a couple of them. Let me just run through, and perhaps the professor to know the type of comments that you also tend to give us. And I'm sure he doesn't like a lot of the politics, but let me just read this for him. From Nyaba, It says people should be honest to the government. When fuel prices were reduced to 35%, not even the media went to the lorry stations to find out why they were not decreasing transport fares. Now that we have 27% increment, media men are now running to lorry stations asking when prices of transport fares will be increased. What kind of people are we? It's a question that almost like a rhetoric, if you ask me. Okay, we'll see how that goes. Thanks, Professor. You are highly educative. Now, how can I get some of your books? And that from Asibi.
Okay. And the books are donated, sponsored by industry. I think if she contacts the Chartered Institute of Procurement Supply, possibly within the next 48 hours.
Where are the offices in Ghana?
They are with, they have an office, a temporary office, that is. The Fidelity, they are working with Stella Ado.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I will try. We have also a professional who he used to be an actor. He's been here on the show.
Yes, Collins.
Yes, he's with Standard Chartered.
Yes.
And so we've hosted him a couple of times on procurement
yes.
as well. I think he almost looks like you. Not really. But, and so we have a couple of your comments as well. You said special people with accurate news. Thank you very much. I always enjoy your discussions. And Nanado will be president, you say. And you said good morning to me, my brother. All right. Thank you very much. And thanks for passing through, sir.
Thank you very much.
We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more for you. Please do stay on. It's a AM show live on this very channel. Do stay on.